Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Holistic Soul Sisters. My name is Mandy Rose. I'm a holistic health coach, spiritual mentor, and astrologer. And today we're going to talk all about Pluto retrograde. If you don't know anything about Pluto retrograde, you've come to the right video. We're going to talk all about Pluto and what he represents and in what areas of our life he's life coaching us. And then we're going to talk about retrogrades and what they mean. And when Pluto goes retrograde, what lesson is he trying to teach us? We'll talk a little bit about the zodiac sign Capricorn, which is where Pluto is doing his retrograde dance and what themes are going to come up in our lives. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about things that you should and should not be doing during a Pluto retrograde. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So I got dressed up in a very gothic way for this video because Pluto is very deep. Pluto is our life coach when it comes to transformation, massive change. He rules over our subconscious and our conscious mind. He's always helping us do this dance between what we think on a daily basis and what we feel on a subconscious level. He rules power and manipulation and struggle. He rules death and the rebirth of our lives. So Pluto is a life coach to us about the really, really deep things. This Pluto retrograde is beginning on April 27th and will be lasting us 6 months, all the way until October 6th. And in that 6-month period, Pluto will only be moving from 26 degrees of Capricorn backwards to only 24 degrees of Capricorn. So he's only moving 2 degrees in the sky, a very slight little change. However, in that 6 months, he will be bringing lots of transformation to us, a lot of death and rebirth to areas of our lives that are stuck and stagnant. He'll be dredging up subconscious things into our conscious minds, and he will be helping us evaluate our power and control struggles. Where are we asserting too much control in our lives? Where are we not stepping into our own power? Where do we not have boundaries? Boundaries is a really big word that Pluto is always ruling over. Pluto is a life coach to us in very important aspects of our lives. He rules transformation, he rules death and rebirth, he rules our subconscious mind. And so he's always helping life coach us in the areas of boundaries, power, control, subconscious thought and belief, and also where do we need to be reborn in our life? Where is there stuck and stagnant energy? Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, the zodiac sign of Scorpio. Scorpio is the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's the zodiac sign that rules over the occult world, the witchy things, the realms that we don't see on the physical plane. And so Pluto actually dredges up these things, these energies from the subconscious, from the universe that we can't necessarily see, but we definitely feel. Scorpio is an intuitive sign, and Pluto rules over our intuition, helping us get to a space where we can create our own transformation. So over this Pluto retrograde, this theme of boundaries is going to come up over and over again. If you're someone that's been struggling with this area in your life, expect over the next 6 months for it to not only be thrown in your face and to be highlighted, but for you to learn to step into your power. Pluto rules power, so helping you step into that power. Pluto is a planet that's so far away from us on Earth. It's the furthest planet. So while Pluto helps us individually create transformation and rebirth in our lives, he actually helps the collective. And this is really cool because on a collective basis, right now, we're all wanting massive change and massive transformation in many areas of society. And the United States is currently going what we call our Pluto return. Humans don't have a Pluto return because Pluto takes over 300 years to come back to the same spot it was when anything was born. And so the United States is currently going through this Pluto return, and with Pluto ruling transformation and rebirth and death and new beginnings and power control and manipulation, you can see why there's all this volatility going on within the United States at this current time. Pluto is in the zodiac sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn rules success, ambition, long-term goals. Capricorn wants to be number one. Capricorn doesn't care about who it's stepping over to get to the top. It just wants to be number one. And so with Pluto, death and transformation, control and power struggles, dancing its way around Capricorn energy of success and ambition and wanting to be number one, you can see that he's doing some work on transforming that energy, transforming our need for control and power and valuing it. He's saying no more of that. We need to transform that and get rid of it and rebirth it like a phoenix rising from the ashes to do something new. Pluto is at 26 degrees of Capricorn right now. During his retrograde in 6 months, he's only going to go from 26 degrees of Capricorn back to 24. Not a very big shift in the sky. And that's because it takes him 17 years to get out of Capricorn. He's been there for a very long time. And it only goes to 30 degrees before he moves into Aquarius. So being at 26, he's really close to getting out of Capricorn, but it's going to take some more time. And so every retrograde that he does, every year Pluto does a retrograde. And while he's going retrograde, he is trying to help us reevaluate, reassess these themes in our lives. The thing is with the planets, as our life coach, they know what's best for us. They know what we need to remove from our life. But here on the physical earth and our human bodies, we don't want change. We don't want transformation. We don't want death. And we don't want to shift and change things. And so sometimes we don't understand what the greater purpose is. So we need to step back and let the planets do their work. And during a retrograde, it's a period of reevaluating and reassessing these parts of our lives that we can't seem to move forward on our own. Pluto is going to force us to put our big boy, big girl pants on and step up into the light and make these shifts and transformations. So from April 27th to October 6th, expect these topics I listed to come up in your life, to reevaluate and reassess them so that you can release them and create more space in your life for rebirth to begin. The death process is a necessary aspect to life, and Pluto is here to remind us that without death, we can't have rebirth. And that's not only in a physical body way, but in many areas of our lives. If you don't create death in certain relationships that don't serve, as far as severing the relationship and moving on and moving forward. Or maybe you've been really stagnant in a career or stagnant in a part of your life and it's time for a rebirth in that area. Pluto's going to come in and highlight that. He's going to be your life coach over the next 6 months on all things boundaries, control, and transformation. So to know if this is going to impact you specifically in certain ways, go ahead and open up your birth chart and you're going to look for the zodiac sign of Capricorn. What house does Capricorn fall for you? That's going to indicate what area of your life these themes are going to come up and be presented. And also, you want to look at 25 to 26 degrees of Capricorn. Do you have any planets in your birth chart at 25 or 26 degrees of Capricorn? Because if you do, that is also going to be something in your life that will be highlighted. So for instance, if you have the moon at 25 degrees of Capricorn and the moon being our emotions, you're going to notice this rebirth and the way that you process emotions. Maybe you have boundaries that come up with your emotions. Who do you share them with? How about control with your emotions? Do you need to learn to have better control over your emotions? If you have 25 degrees of Capricorn in your birth chart, maybe Venus is there, your planet of love. So you might notice that you might need more boundaries in your love life. You may need more control over who you give your love to instead of giving it away so freely. Or maybe you need a complete transformation and a rebirth in your love life. So this is how we can see how specific retrogrades will impact you the most. If you have any more questions, feel free to message me. I have my contact information in the description box below, or send me a message on Instagram. I'll be happy to help break this down for you in your individual birth chart, or we can do a full birth chart reading and look at what this retrograde and all the rest of the retrogrades are going to have in store for you for 2021. Pluto is kicking off retrograde season. In 2021, the first retrograde was actually Mercury back in February. However, we had a 2-month break. There were no retrogrades for 2 whole months. We got the green light from the universe to go, go, go. But now beginning on April 27th with Pluto, we will be in some form of a planet's retrograde all the way until the end of the year. So Pluto is kicking it off, and he's kicking it off by saying we need some transformation. But in order to transform and rise up from the ashes, we got to reevaluate some things in our lives. And then all the other planets are going to follow suit. And each planet is a life coach to us in a different way. So as those retrogrades come up, make sure you hit subscribe. I'll be posting a video on each of those planets and what life coach they are to us and how their retrograde will be affecting us. But for now, let's dive into Pluto retrograde. What does a retrograde mean? Retrograde is all about reevaluating. Retrograde, RE. So anything in your life with reevaluate, reassess, relearn, redo, recheck, reconsider, restructure. All these activities in our lives will be necessary during a retrograde period. And since Pluto is our subconscious and death and transformation, you may notice over the next 6 months that some of your subconscious beliefs, some of the things you've been told your whole life, get triggered, and you have to reevaluate those beliefs. You have to reassess them. You might feel this loss of control, this loss of power, because Pluto rules power and control. And during a retrograde, you might need to reassess that. You might feel this sense of loss as Pluto is stripping away and transforming and creating death and rebirth in your life. And so during the retrograde, you feel this sense of release and loss in something, and then we regain our power as we step back into it and reassess the way that we think about things on a subconscious level. Pluto doesn't like when we have things stuffed under a rug or tucked away in the back of the closet. He wants to bring them out and clear them, bring them from the subconscious, dredge it up into the light and clear it. So you will notice those things happening during this retrograde. The other great thing about Pluto retrogrades is it helps us rip the mask off. It wants nothing hidden. It wants everything brought up to the surface to be released. So masks will be ripped off. You will see the truth in other people. Since Pluto rules Scorpio, and Scorpio is all about secrets and hidden truths, a retrograde kind of rips that mask off. It takes a step back and reveals the truth of other people. So you might notice in the next 6 months that people's intentions become more clear. You might notice that someone's been hiding themselves from you or hiding a part of themselves, maybe wearing a mask in the way that they relate to you, maybe wearing a mask in the way that they are projecting themselves onto you. Maybe an opportunity you thought was so good is going to be revealed to not be so great. So expect masks to be ripped off, truths to be revealed, secrets to come to light. And so this rebirth process can start because we need to see things for what they are so that we can get into what we believe, so we can create our own power over it and make changes. Pluto is going retrograde on the 27th of April at 26 degrees of Capricorn. And then he's going to migrate in the sky back to 24 degrees of Capricorn before he decides to go direct. So during a retrograde, the planet is actually going over the same part of the sky 3 times. So let's say, for instance, Pluto is on his path going through Capricorn. He's at 24 degrees, then he's at 25 degrees, and then he gets to 26 degrees and he goes, wait, hold on. Collective society and individuals need a little reevaluating, restructuring. So I'm going to go retrograde and dance back over 26 degrees, 25 degrees, 24 degrees, teach us that lesson over the next 6 months. And then he's got to get back on track. So then when he gets back on track, he'll go from 24 degrees to 25 to 26. When he goes over that path the 3rd time, so one time he's going over it, that is the time in our lives when we're being introduced to the themes that we're going to have to reevaluate. And that began in January. In January, Pluto was at 24 degrees. And up until April 27th at 26 degrees, he brought up some things in our lives relating to control, to boundaries, to transformation, to death. So what in your life since January has been coming up for you in the themes concerning boundaries, control, manipulation, subconscious, traumas, triggers, secrets? So from January until April, till today, what themes have been coming up? Because Pluto is giving you a little preview. Then on the 27th, he's going to back up all the way till October 6th, back to 24. So this is the part where we reevaluate. We go backwards. We reevaluate, reassess all the themes that kind of been previewed to us, all the things that come up. The death and transformation process happens now. And then on October 6th, he'll be at 24 degrees of Capricorn and he has to get back on track. So he's going to go over this part of the sky one last time. And this is the time for us to integrate, to do, to move forward, to take all those lessons, to take everything we learned from that Pluto retrograde and integrate them into our lives. And we get a 3rd chance to do it right and to make it permanent and to make it solid and to move on forward. So you're going to learn lessons about boundaries. You're going to learn lessons about power and control. Who are you having control over? How are you not being in power with yourself? Are you feeling overpowered by other people? Where do you need to get into subconscious beliefs and release them? So that on October 6th, we can get right back on track and we can be more powerful within ourselves. We have stronger boundaries with other people, and the rebirth and the phoenix rising from the ashes can happen as we move forward. So that's how the retrograde works in the sky. Hopefully that makes sense. It's hard to kind of explain, but I like to do it in a very practical way. So think back to what themes have been coming up for you around those topics since January. Now, if you have your 2021 Retrograde Astrology Journal, open up to the Pluto Retrograde page. I have 2 full pages for every single retrograde because I really want to dive into them. They are our life lessons. They are our opportunity for growth and change. And when you go into it, I talk not only about what is a Pluto retrograde, I talk about the zodiac sign of Capricorn and all the themes that are going to come up as Pluto does his dance through the zodiac sign. And then on the other page, I talk about the lesson, which the lesson for Pluto retrograde is to learn to trust the process of change, learn to let old stuff go, and be excited for the future, like I mentioned earlier. I also have what to expect, and it's a perfect time too. So for example, during the Pluto retrograde, it's a perfect time to heal ancestral trauma, a perfect time to bring up that subconscious and all those deep, deep things that need to be released. Also, it's a perfect time to spring clean everything in your life. Clear up that runway so your new blessings can land. Get rid of the old, whether it's material things in your house, whether it's old friendships that don't serve, whether it's old belief systems that just don't work for you anymore. Clean up the runway. And then I also have this little chart here on do's and don'ts. If you go to the Retrograde Astrology Journal Instagram page, I'll link it in the description box below, and I will post this chart of do's and don'ts during this retrograde. So for instance, you do want to look at your shadow side, look deep and what can you heal? And you don't want to engage in any kind of power play. You don't want to try to manipulate and force a situation. You don't want to try to control someone's actions and behaviors because Pluto will teach you that that's not going to fly and not going to work. So don't do that. And then go ahead and check out the Instagram page for more do's and don'ts. And then of course, underneath, I have some journal prompts. So if you don't have the retrograde journal yet and you're getting it later, let's say you buy it in May and the retrograde has already begun, that's totally okay because the retrogrades last over a period of time. So you can fill out these journal prompts at the beginning of the retrograde and then reevaluate them throughout the retrograde period. Maybe check in every month and see what you wrote, see if you're making progress. And then at the end of the retrograde, I encourage you to go back to what you journaled for the Pluto retrograde. Like for instance, on October 6th, when Pluto ends as retrograde, and see if your response is different. See if you've done the internal work. See if you've changed or shifted in any way since what you wrote on April 27th when the retrograde began. And that's a really cool way for you to gauge how much you've changed because on a daily basis, sometimes we don't even notice change within ourselves. But over a span of time, like 6 months, we can go back and go, wow, I think so much differently than the version of me that wrote these answers back at the beginning of this retrograde. And that is the beauty of these life coaches of the planets and them helping guide us along. As long as we know what they're trying to teach us, we know what lessons they're going to be bringing, we can work with this energy and be in full support of the lessons they're trying to teach us so we can grow and develop into our higher self. So hopefully that makes sense. If you haven't gotten your retrograde journal, you can grab it in the description box below. Like I said, there is no late time to purchase it, even though it's for 2021. You can always go back and learn about the moons and the retrogrades and the sun seasons that have already happened. It's so informational. It's not just journal prompts, but it's also rituals and crystals and so many more things that you can read back on over and over throughout the year. And like I said, Pluto retrograde is just kicking off the retrograde season. We've got Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Chiron, Venus, Mercury retrograde, another Mercury retrograde, and Jupiter going retrograde. So we got a lot of activity coming up in the rest of the year. So embrace this energy, do the best with it. Put in the comments below what you're hoping to transform over the next 6 months, what areas of your life you feel like you need to release. And I can't wait to hear from you guys and see your soul's evolution over the course of this retrograde. Make sure you connect with me on social media. I love to support your journey. Hit subscribe for more videos coming up on all the full and new moons. I will catch you guys in the next video.